The Curse of the Blood Venom Hex. In a forgotten hamlet, where whispers of the supernatural slithered through generations like a cold fog, a family once thrived under the protective shadow of their ancestor, Old Man Ba Sai, a revered master of the ancient Luban arts, a mystic practice weaving light and shadow, righteousness and malevolence. Ba Sai, a man of iron virtue, wielded only the forces of good to shield his kin, never once succumbing to the temptations of dark sorcery. But no one could have foreseen the day when a sinister force, a venomous hex known as the Blood Nigh, would descend upon the family, ensnaring Ba Sai's youngest granddaughter, Big Sis, in a nightmare of unholy terror. Big Sis, barely 15, and her twin, Little Sis, had spent a summer toiling in the fields of their cousin, fifth sister, harvesting eggplants under the blistering sun. The work was grueling, but what gnawed at their spirits was their cousin Bang, the lazy son of fifth sister's husband. Bang did nothing but lounge in the shade, reaping the profits of their labor without sharing a dime. Fed up, the twins vowed never to return to fifth sister's fields. They retreated to their quiet home, believing the worst was behind them. But something far darker was stirring. One sweltering noon, Little Sis caught a glimpse of Big Sis sneaking into the eggplant patch, where Bang waited in the dim shadows. Beneath the twisted vines, they embraced in a frenzy of forbidden passion, their bodies moving as if possessed by some unholy compulsion. That night, Big Sis tossed and turned, her body burning with unnatural desire, her mind a chaotic swirl of thoughts that weren't her own. She had no love for Bang, yet an insatiable hunger clawed at her soul, driving her to the edge of madness. In despair, she stole a vial of rat poison, determined to end her torment. But as her trembling fingers grasped the bottle, it shattered on the floor. A guttural voice, cold as death, hissed in her ear, "You don't get to die." Overwhelmed, Big Sis collapsed, her consciousness swallowed by darkness. The next morning, she awoke trembling and confessed her torment to her grandmother. Furious, Grandma prepared to storm fifth sister's house, but before she could leave, Great-Grandma, Ba Sai's own mother, burst through the door, her face pale with dread. She recounted a chilling vision. The night before, Ba Sai had entered a meditative trance, and his ancestral master had appeared in a dream, warning, "Your granddaughter, Big Sis, is under the grip of a Khmer Blood Nigh, a vile hex. Get her to the ancestral house. It's her only hope." Without hesitation, the family forced Big Sis onto a rickety cart, despite her thrashing protests, and set off for Ba Sai's sacred home. The journey was a descent into horror. Big Sis grew erratic, locking herself in a bathhouse for hours, water gushing endlessly. When Grandma and Great-Grandma tore back the curtain, they froze in terror. Big Sis lay sprawled on the dirt floor, naked, her eyes rolled back to whites, foam bubbling from her lips, her body writhing as if a demon had claimed her. Panicked, the family hoisted her onto a bicycle and pedaled frantically for 45 minutes to reach Ba Sai's ancestral house. There, Ba Sai waited, seated before an altar wreathed in swirling incense smoke, his eyes glinting with grim resolve. One glance at Big Sis told him everything. "This is no ordinary curse," he growled. "She's been poisoned by Khmer Blood Nigh, a black magic so potent it's nearly unbreakable." Before he could touch her, an oppressive aura radiated from her trembling form. Her eyes blazed crimson, veins bulging black and rigid as stone. Her shirt tore apart, buttons flying, her belly swelling grotesquely as if something alive churned within. Grandma screamed, but Ba Sai barked, "Silence! Let me work." With steady hands, he plucked 3 smoldering incense sticks from the altar and seized a sacred talisman. In a blur, he plunged the sticks into Big Sis's navel. A sickening hiss filled the air as a torrent of black, putrid liquid erupted from her abdomen, reeking of decay. Her swollen belly deflated, and she collapsed, spewing more of the foul ichor, her hair matted with sweat, the stench choking the room. But the evil wasn't done. Big Sis lurched upright, her body contorting like a beast, fingers and toes clawing into the floor, nails digging so deep they bled. Her head snapped back, eyes glowing like embers, a guttural snarl tearing from her throat as she glared at Ba Sai. He saw it instantly, the demon within her was fighting back. She lunged, but Ba Sai sidestepped, letting her crash into the altar. Undeterred, she crouched like a predator, ready to strike again. Ba Sai bit his tongue, spitting blood onto the talisman, and roared an incantation, "Celestial warriors, heed my call." He slammed the talisman onto her chest, sending her sprawling, but she crawled backward, snarling, pressing herself against the wall. Unyielding, Ba Sai shoved the talisman into her mouth, pinning her arms and forcing her to the ground with his knee. "Who are you? Who sent this curse?" he demanded. From Big Sis's lips came a voice not her own, rasping and cruel, "I am too gone, from Travin. You can't defeat me." But Ba Sai, channeling the righteous power of his Luban mastery, pressed on. In a grueling battle of wills, he subdued the malevolent spirit, breaking the hex's hold. Big Sis collapsed, unconscious but free, her body finally her own. The family survived, but the shadow of the blood nigh lingered, a grim reminder that darkness lurks in the unseen corners of the world. Only those like Ba Sai, armed with the light of ancient wisdom, could stand against such unseen horrors and pull their loved ones back from the abyss. The battle in the ancestral house raged on, a clash of light and shadow that shook the very air. Old man Ba Sai, a righteous master of the Luban arts, stood locked in a spiritual duel with the malevolent sorcerer Tugon, whose vile spirit had possessed Ba Sai's granddaughter, Big Sis, through a sinister blend of Khmer Cham curses and Taizim hexes. From Big Sis's trembling lips, Tugon's voice roared, "I let my two nice spirits test you, old man. Now I face you myself." He sneered, revealing his twisted plot. Bang, the lazy cousin consumed by unrequited lust for Big Sis, had hired Tugon to weave a love hex to bind her to him. When Big Sis resisted and the family's ancestral spirits intervened, Tugon's wrath turned deadly, plotting to drive her to suicide with rat poison. Ba Sai's eyes blazed with righteous fury. This was no mere hex but the work of a seasoned dark sorcerer commanding ghostly minions from afar. Tugon taunted, "I forged 2 demons from the corpses of forest frogs and the hearts of feral cats. I wanted this girl dead, but your ancestors blocked me." Ba Sai's voice thundered, "You have 5 seconds to leave my granddaughter's body, or I'll shatter your soul to dust." But Tugon, still gripping Big Sis's form, only laughed, his crimson eyes gleaming with defiance. Undeterred, Ba Sai raised his hand, forming the 5 thunder seal, preparing to press a sacred talisman to Big Sis's forehead to banish the evil. But the demon within her surged, seizing his wrist and hurling him back with unnatural strength. The room became a battlefield, their struggle shaking the walls as Grandma and Great-Grandma watched in helpless terror, their hearts pounding. Suddenly, Big Sis spat a stream of toxic blood at Ba Sai, the venom sizzling like acid on his skin. He dodged most of it, but his arm burned, flesh smoking and blistering. Unfazed, he lunged to the altar, plunging his hand into a bowl of charmed rice, a sacred tool to neutralize dark magic. The rice ignited, black smoke coiling upward, but Ba Sai's resolve held firm. In a daring move, he released Big Sis's body and stepped back to the altar. With his left hand clutching a command flag and his right gripping a sacred token, he knelt before the altar of the Black Dragon Master, White Dragon Master, and Holy Ancestor Luban. In a voice that echoed like thunder, he chanted the 9 sacred words, summoning his ancestral masters to possess him. The room quaked, a wave of holy wrath radiating from Ba Sai. He rose, tying a red cloth around his forehead, draping a sacred sash over his shoulders, and wielding a great ceremonial blade, a weapon forged to vanquish demons. He moved with precision, tracing the 7-star formation, his voice booming, "Koi, Thwak, Hyen, Han, Tat, Fu, Few, 7 stars align, heed my command." On his final step, he slammed his foot before Big Sis. The demon within her recoiled, toxic blood seeping from her mouth, her skin peeling as if scorched. It clasped its hands, begging for mercy, but Ba Sai, now fused with the power of his ancestors, uttered a single soul-banishing incantation. With a scream, Tugon's spirit fled Big Sis's body. Big Sis collapsed, unconscious but freed. Ba Sai staggered, exhausted, supported by Great-Grandma. He gathered the cursed remnants, toxic blood and charred rice, into a clay jar sealed with lime and cast it into the river for the water gods to cleanse, sparing the village from its evil. When Big Sis awoke, she revealed Bang's treachery. For 3 days, he had fed her cursed bananas laced with the hex. Boss Eye sighed, "Our ancestors' blessings saved you. Without their protection, this venom would have claimed your life." He explained that Tugon's Nai was a hybrid abomination, crafted from frog corpses and cat hearts, driven by 2 ferocious demons. Only the family's ancestral grace and Boss Eye's righteous magic had prevailed. Time passed, and karma struck the guilty. Bang, now married, spiraled into madness, drowning in liquor and wrecking his home. One night, 3 lanterns in his house crashed down, crushing him dead. Tugon, the infamous dark sorcerer, met an equally grim fate. His home collapsed into the river, his altar shattered, and the spirits he'd enslaved turned on him. Whispers spread that he roamed nightly, screaming, devouring filth and even human waste, as if possessed by 100 vengeful ghosts. He died wretchedly beneath a tree, a fitting end for one who dared wield such unholy power. But the story didn't end there. Years later, Boss Eye's granddaughter, the one who told this tale, embarked on a new path. Though the black-white Luban lineage had faded, fate guided her to the mystic arts of Maoshan, where charms and sorcery thrived in a world of secrets. Born frail, a sickly child who cried endlessly, she'd been raised in poverty, her mother toiling to keep her alive. Yet, as if guarded by unseen hands, she grew strong, her delicate beauty masking a resilient spirit. One day, as a child, she tumbled down the wooden stairs of their rural home. That fall, seemingly ordinary, opened a new chapter, revealing her destiny as Boss Eye's chosen heir to the spiritual path. She began studying the ancient tomes of charms left by her great-grandfather, sensing the same ancestral power that had saved Big Sis. Though she didn't yet grasp their full depth, she felt their strength coursing through her. Her journey proved that no matter how fierce the darkness, the light of virtue and ancestral blessings would always triumph. But as the shadows of dark sorcery still lurked in unseen corners, would she be ready for the trials that awaited? The spiritual odyssey of the young girl, Old Man Boss Eye's granddaughter, remained shrouded in mystery. A fateful tumble down a wooden staircase marked the turning point of her life. As a frail child, she had been more familiar with hospital wards than her own home. This time, the fall was brutal, her head struck the ground, blood pooling beneath her, her body convulsing violently. Her panicked family rushed her to the hospital, where she lay comatose, entangled in a web of tubes and wires, teetering on the edge of life and death. The doctors were helpless, reduced to monitoring her fading vitals, while her family prayed tirelessly before the ancestral altar, beseeching their forebears for salvation. A week passed in agonizing uncertainty. Then, Big Sis, the same granddaughter who had once been freed from the Blood Venom Hex and chosen to inherit Boss Eye's mystic legacy, had a vivid dream. In it, she sat in the courtyard of the ancestral house as fierce winds howled and black clouds churned overhead. From the heavens descended Boss Eye, astride a resplendent white elephant, wielding a horsetail whisk, a sword strapped to his back, enveloped in swirling mist. His voice rumbled like distant thunder, "At noon tomorrow, a master will come to save my granddaughter. Fear not, she cannot die. I've left this mortal plane and can no longer intervene, but my merits will guide a savior to her." With that, the elephant turned, ascending into the clouds and vanishing. Big Sis awoke at 5 a.m., heart pounding, and relayed the vision to the family. They flocked to the ancestral house, lighting incense and praying the dream was true. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the girl's father sat by her bedside, consumed by despair as he watched her lifeless form. Suddenly, a voice whispered in his ear, "Go to the hospital gate, someone's coming to save her." Startled, he looked around, seeing no one, but an unseen force compelled him to run outside. There, an elderly man in a brown tunic, a satchel slung across his chest, stood searching anxiously. Spotting the father, he called out, "You're looking for me, aren't you?" Stunned, the father poured out the story, the fall, the coma, the mysterious voice. The man, Master Nam, revealed he too had been visited in a dream by a white-haired elder on a white elephant, directing him to the hospital to save a girl. Master Nam followed the father to the girl's bedside, placing a weathered hand on her clammy forehead. His voice was grave, "This is the one. She's destined to carry her family's mystic legacy, but she's caught in a dire ordeal. That fall was no accident. Your family's land is steeped in dark energy, stalked by malevolent spirits. Her late great-grandfather can no longer shield her. The gash on her head has unleashed her vital yang energy, letting Yin forces invade, scattering her soul. Left unchecked, she'd wake in a few days, mad, deranged. He declared her fate was strong, her yang energy potent, but the gate of her life force needed sealing. Placing his hand on her back, he pressed firmly. Though comatose, the girl felt two piercing sensations, one searing, one icy, lancing through her chest, agony gripping her heart. After 30 grueling minutes, Master Nam withdrew. The gate was closed. The girl stirred, her eyes fluttering open, meeting Master Nam's gaze with a mix of fear and gratitude, knowing she'd been pulled back from the abyss. Master Nam followed the father to the girl's bedside, placing a weathered hand on her clammy forehead. His voice was grave, "This is the one. She's destined to carry her family's mystic legacy, but she's caught in a dire ordeal. That fall was no accident. Your family's land is steeped in dark energy, stalked by malevolent spirits. Her late great-grandfather can no longer shield her. The gash on her head has unleashed her vital yang energy, letting Yin forces invade, scattering her soul. Left unchecked, she'd wake in a few days, mad, deranged. He declared her fate was strong, her yang energy potent, but the gate of her life force needed sealing. Placing his hand on her back, he pressed firmly. Though comatose, the girl felt two piercing sensations, one searing, one icy, lancing through her chest, agony gripping her heart. After 30 grueling minutes, Master Nam withdrew. The gate was closed. The girl stirred, her eyes fluttering open, meeting Master Nam's gaze with a mix of fear and gratitude, knowing she'd been pulled back from the abyss. She spent another month in the hospital, slowly regaining strength. On the day of her discharge, Master Nam visited, confirming her as the chosen heir to her family's spiritual mantle. He took her as his disciple, though she was still a child, unaware of the weight of her destiny. Over the next 5 years, she frequented his home, immersing herself in its mystic aura. As she matured, Master Nam began her training in the Maoshan tradition, under the Van Phap sect, venerating 36 divine generals, the primordial heavenly sovereign, and the 9 heavens mysterious lady. She learned the basics, the origins of Lu Ban charms, the meaning of sacred chants, their precise intonations, and protective hand seals. After 100 days of grueling training, she passed her first test, deflecting Master Nam's mystic strikes. 49 days later, she mastered the ancestral charm of the 9 heavens mysterious lady, visualizing its sigils in her mind's eye. Over the next 108 days, she studied talisman drawing, spirit identification, and basic ritual setups. Finally, she endured 300 days of solitary trials in desolate fields, battling dark entities with only her charms and willpower. Emerging victorious, she earned the rank of mid-tier master, receiving from Master Nam a golden ceremonial sash, the mark of a true sorcerer. Years later, now a seasoned mid-tier master, she lived at Master Nam's home, honing her craft. One day, her father arrived on his motorcycle, accompanied by Uncle Kwang and his wife, Nok, who looked like a walking corpse, her face ashen, her body skeletal. Master Nam ordered Nok laid in the courtyard. Uncle Kwang recounted a chilling tale. A month earlier, their family had camped by the sea. There, he spotted a massive sea turtle, its shell glinting gold, crawling ashore. Skeptical of the supernatural, he captured it, intending to butcher it. That night, Nok secretly released the turtle into a ditch. Enraged, Kwang retrieved it, boiled it alive, cracked its shell, and feasted on its flesh with friends. Since then, Nok had withered, as if her life force was being drained. Master Nam's face darkened. He recognized the signs. Nok was cursed for freeing a sacred creature. He set up a ritual altar, chanting and inscribing talismans to expel the malevolent spirit. Slowly, Nok revived, though her strength would take time to return. Uncle Kwang, racked with guilt, faced his own reckoning. Their riverside home collapsed soon after, as if the turtle's spirit had exacted vengeance. The young sorceress, now a mid-tier master, understood her purpose. The blood of Ba-Sai's mystic legacy coursed through her veins, and her path of learning stretched far ahead. Yet the shadows of dark sorcery still lurked, waiting for their chance. Her story, like the evil she faced, was far from over.